Stage our principal percussionist, Matt Cowan. Today, Matt and I had some lively conversations before he played where after he was done, I asked the audience how many want to play percussion. About 50% of the hands in the audience went up, so that's what you got coming for you here. Matt, tell us where you go to school, would you please?
I go to Springfield High School.
And you're a junior.
Junior.
And Matt's going to play a piece for the xylophone, right? Okay. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to play.
It's called Horace Staccato, and it's originally for violin, but I'm going to be playing it on xylophone for you.
Originally for violin?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. So, you all ready? Very cool. play percussion after his performance today? Watch out, parents. So, now we're going to go on to a tune that was written by a good friend of mine who lives in New Jersey right now. And for a concert like this, what we're working to do for the young people during the day is to introduce them to the instruments in the orchestra, the strings, the woodwinds, brass, and percussion. And to do this, we have a good friend of mine from Churchill High School, a very fine choir and drama director, this Mr. Al Villanueva.
This is the story of an incredible orchestra named Eugene Youth Symphony and their conductor, Phil Harmonic. The Eugene Youth Symphony is made up of 85 very talented student musicians who come from many different schools. Every year they present concerts including a very special performance called the Symphonic Safari for audiences just like you. One of their leaders is a very accomplished violinist named Emily Wu. She attends South Eugene High School and has played in the orchestra for several years. Along with Emily, there are many other fine string players. There are woodwinds too, flutes, oboes, clarinets, and bassoons. And of course there are brasses and lots of booming percussion instruments as well. They all enjoyed playing their instruments very much. Sometimes they could have an amazing effect on their audiences. Well, like the time they walked into the stage at a recent performance and the entire audience was asleep. The audience members had been up very late watching the Academy Awards, and they were very, very tired. Now, Phil Harmonic knew exactly what to do. I'm going to have them listen to my brass section. I will have the French horns, the trumpets, the trombones, and the tuba play a grand fanfare, and that'll wake the audience up. The audience jumped out of their seats and were ready to hear the concert. Well, and then there was the time that members of the audience were yelling at each other. The Civil War football game was the next day, and all the Beaver fans were yelling at all the Duck fans, and they were so loud that it was nearly impossible for the orchestra to be heard. Once again, Phil knew just what to do. He asked the strings, the violins, the violas, the cellos, and string basses to play some very soothing music, and they did. The audience heard the beautiful music, and they forgot all about their rivalry and thoroughly enjoyed the concert. Yes, the Eugene Youth Symphony was a wonderful orchestra, and Phil Harmonic was very proud of his players. He knew they could do just about anything. The oboes could play beautiful, long notes. The flutes could play really high and very fast. And the percussion was incredible. They were the very best there was. People everywhere were talking about the Eugene Youth Symphony. They were invited to perform all around Lane County. Mayors, city council members, even a girl named Hannah from Montana came to hear them. In fact, people were concerned that perhaps Phil was injecting his players with HGH, harmonic growth syndrome. But no, they were just that talented. One day, not too long ago, Phil Harmonic was sitting in his office and there was a knock at the door. It was Steven Spielberg, the well-known big-time movie producer. He had traveled all the way from Salem to meet Phil Harmonic. He told Maestro Harmonic that he had heard about his wonderful orchestra and he wanted them to play on the soundtrack for his next epic movie. He said, "Mr. Philharmonic, I need the very best orchestra there is to be in my movie. Do you think you could do it?" "Of course, Mr. Spielberg, they can do just about everything. Let me show you." So Phil Harmonic took Mr. Spielberg down to the rehearsal room where the orchestra was warming up for their next practice session. Phil asked Mr. Spielberg to tell him what kind of music he needed. First, Mr. Spielberg said, "Well, I'll need chase music. Can you do music for a fast chase scene?" "Wow, that's great. But can you do tender music for a big love scene?" "How about sad, tragic music?" "One more. How about some funky music for the comedy?" Mr. Spielberg was very impressed by the Eugene Youth Symphony, and they played on every one of his movies, including his most famous, Gone with the Wind's Strings and Brasses. Indeed, the Eugene Youth Symphony was incredible and they played everywhere and they were very popular. Last month, there was a very interesting thing that happened in the auditorium at South Eugene High School. Phil Harmonic was again sitting in his office preparing for a rehearsal, and again there was a knock at the door. When Phil opened the door, there was a very strange-looking man he had never seen before. He looked like a mad scientist, and Phil Harmonic wondered what brought him to his office. "Good afternoon. What can I do for you?"
Hello, my name is Sid Digital, and I've heard about your orchestra. I've heard they're the very best and can play just about anything. I'd like to challenge you to a contest. Your orchestra against mine.
I've never heard of such a thing. I'm not sure I'd be into something like that.
But what if I told you my orchestra was a computer?
You mean that you think your computer can do everything the Eugene Youth Symphony can do?
I know my computer can do everything your orchestra can do, but my computer can do it better.
Well, Phil Harmonic knew that no machine could do what 85 talented human musicians could do, so he agreed to the showdown. Now, we'll do it tomorrow night at our next concert. We'll both perform, and then we're going to let the audience decide.
Good. I'll see you tomorrow night.
We'll see you tomorrow night then. The big night arrived. Phil Harmonic and his orchestra were all dressed in their very best and ready to play. And on the side of the stage were Sid Digital and his computer. Everyone was excited to see who would win. They flipped a coin and Phil Harmonic won, so they went first. With a wave of his hand, the strings began to play beautiful music. The audience knew that no computer could do anything like that. Phil Harmonic knew Sid would have a tough time beating his string section. He turned to his rival. "Let's see your computer do that."
No problem.
That was okay, I have to admit, but just listen to my woodwinds. You're on, my friend. Not bad, but nobody can beat my brass. Sid pushed a button and his computer began to play. Philharmonic had one more section in his orchestra. He looked confident because he knew his percussion would save him. But Sid just grinned.
That was pretty good, but let me hit you with some knowledge.
Both Philharmonic and Sid Digital knew they were in a serious contest. Both the orchestra and the computer did very well. No more fooling around, said Phil. Let's play together and we'll see who's best. Heroically, and the computer matched the orchestra, note for note. Everyone played faster and faster, and louder and louder. The orchestra began to get tired, but the computer just kept on going. And it kept on going. On and on. Quick, somebody get a light. Everyone wondered what had happened. The orchestra was still on the stage. They were a little tired, but they were ready to go on. But over on the side of the stage, Sid looked dejected. His computer wouldn't start again. No matter how hard he tried, there was nothing he could do. The computer simply could not go on. Sid threw up his hands in despair. He knew he had lost the contest. It took a while for the lights to come back on. But when they did, the orchestra looked very proud. They knew that no computer could do what 85 talented, hard-working musicians could do. And the audience agreed. They clapped their hands and they cheered for the orchestra. The support from the audience. We're so glad you appreciate us. We are going to play some really cool music for you. The audience clapped again. You guys are good. And the orchestra finished. Everyone was about to leave. The Philharmonic looked over to see if Sid Digital had left. Hey, buddy, do you think you could fire that thing up one more time?
I don't know. Maybe.
Phil wanted to cheer Sid Digital up. Phil told Sid, computers will never take the place of real instruments, but your computer is sure welcome to be a part of our orchestra. Together we'll make beautiful music. I know they will sound great together.
Okay, yeah, let's give it a try.
And they started. It was true. Cooperation and working together is a lot more rewarding than fighting, said Philharmonic. Together, we can truly make beautiful music. And that's our story about Philharmonic, this fabulous orchestra.